We're outside. I want to smell it. See, coming outside is something that terrifies some people nowadays. Like, everyone's kind of agoraphobic. One thing that happened over the last couple of years is that people were forced to be kept indoors, which isn't good. Because what's outside? Air, sun, life. Listen to this. No noise. It's kind of no wonder that people have gotten sick, and sick in many different ways. We're living in a time of rampant paranoia, rampant anxiety, division, anger. Like, everybody thinks everyone else is trying to kill them. I wouldn't consider that to be too healthy. The problem is when they forced everyone to stay inside, apart from all the obvious things that have been documented over and over again, so I don't need to go into it. One of the biggest problems is, what do you do indoors? Well, you go online. In the beginning, they had these aspirations of doing something great. I don't know, studying to be a nuclear physicist, or writing a book that would change people's lives. But what most people ended up doing was just surfing every inch of the internet, far and wide. And it made them all completely bonkers. That's pretty much what happened. Everything these days is divided into two types of people. There are those that follow a sort of mainstream trajectory, and then those who go on a more, what they consider to be an enlightened and fringe trajectory. The one constant is true. Both sides of the equation believe the other side is dominated by morons. In fact, completely inhabited by morons. The problem is that both sides are just one person now. One thing I notice when I'm speaking to people or hearing opinions, whether it's online or in person, or talking heads on the tinterwebs or on the television, it's just hearing the same thing over and over again. It's literally just the same opinion. It's the same talking points, same vocabulary, sometimes the same intonations. It's just the same. You talk to people about these sort of subjects, and it's just like you're engaging with just one hive mind, but there's two hive minds. They're just polar opposites, because everyone's just saying the same thing over and over again, the same conspiracies, the same fears, the same paranoias. Now, people who follow the mainstream trajectory, people who look at the mainstream for where they get their sources of information and for guidance and to try and make sense of what the hell's going on in this crazy, turbulent, upside down world, they're kind of ill-informed, because mainstream entertainment and media is kind of just by design there to just dumb you down. It's the dumbest form of media I've ever seen. If you don't watch television for a very long time and then you start watching again, you're like, what is this? Literally, television is just a diatribe of propaganda spewed into your face. That's pretty much it. Newspapers are the same, mainstream websites are the same, that's all the same. And everyone who consumes that sort of looks at the people who question what's going on and say, who are a bit iffy about, fluids stuck into your arm and wearing nappies around your face for coughs. They look at those people and go, well, they're just lunatics. They're nutters. And at the same time, the people who aren't into getting injected with weird fluid and, don't want to wear face nappies, they look at the people who consume mainstream shit and think, God, they're just mindless sheep and morons. Don't they know Bill Gates is going to murder them all? The problem is, talk to any of them, you'll just hear the same thing from all of them. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. there's no nuance, there's no room for interpretation. Do you know what I mean? There's no wiggle room, and you get a lot of people say, well, you need to be open-minded, but usually they're not open-minded. If you question anyone's beliefs on any side of the equation, what do you get? You get attacked. You get called, you're a moron, you're an idiot, you're blind, you're manipulated, you're stupid, all these things. There isn't much room for balanced point of view. I don't know why I said it like that, but I did. The reason why we all have found ourselves in this situation of polarized hive minds is kind of obvious. I mean, it's not like by design. It's just we have been socially engineered, and this is where we're at. It doesn't necessarily mean it's all nefarious. It's just that's kind of how it's happened. But the problem is we're just subjected, and we subject ourselves to way too much noise. It's just too much noise. There's too much noise. You only need to have one source of so-called misinformation, and misinformation is everywhere. It comes from those who claim they are fighting against it, and it also comes from those who are mouthpieces of corporations and government departments, and these lunatic science these lunatic science boards and collectives, like SAGE. I mean, lunatic shit comes from everywhere. Misinformation is all around us. And just because one side says that the other side is being pumped full of misinformation, or being, brainwashed and led astray, doesn't mean that they aren't either. Because the one consistent, the one constant, the one thing that is most apparent is everyone's gone fucking batshit crazy. That's it. Because it's too much noise. There's only so much research an average person can do. All right, I like to do a lot of research, but even me, it's too much. There's too much noise. There's too many people telling you that you shouldn't trust this and you shouldn't trust that. How do you make any sense of it all? Well, unless you've got all the time in the world, which you did have, but you still didn't use it wisely, because sometimes fantasy is more fun than reality. Basically, you don't have the skills necessarily, you don't have the time, you don't have the resources to unpack everything. I mean, everything is just sound bites, headlines, and regurgitated talking points that probably originated from some bozo somewhere. Alright? That's on all sides of the equation. You're not in some exclusive truth club. None of you. Not me, not you, not nobody. People say to be the purveyors of truth are sometimes just the purveyors of nonsense. It's just the only nonsense that they believe in. Stuff that comes from the mainstream is cack. They don't do themselves any favors, and by the way they word things, the messages that they give, the fact that they silence critique and other things, and so on and so forth. But there's a hell of a lot of hucksters, shysters, snake oil salesmen, people just trying to get paid from a very get paid during a very difficult time. This is what's all around us. So what's the solution? Go outside, because they shouldn't have kept us inside. Go outside. I'm outside. You should be outside too. It's all noise. They locked you in your home, and all you can do is consume noise. In fact, before they locked you in your home, all you were doing was consuming noise. And the worst thing is, you're addicted to it. It's not just you can't get away from it. It's actually addictive. You can't survive without this constant noise. We just live in a time of information overload. There's only so much information you can consume. There's only so much information that you actually need. Like, because what do we actually need to know? Well, we need to know how to be healthier. That's what we needed to know. End of discussion. That's kind of what we need to know. And yet, we got let down by that. What we don't need is constant fear-mongering. And one of the problems is, the mainstream legacy corporate media, whatever you like to call them, all they know is fear-mongering. Kind of governments, or not everyone in the government, but a lot of people, definitely the government advisors, the science advisors, with their crazy modelling system that just predicts doom and gloom. There's a lot of doom mongers out there, because all they know is how to scare. They don't know how to inspire. They don't know how to pick us up. All we've got is, well, in this country, the UK, all we've got is some blustering plastic gangster version of Churchill who can talk a good talk but doesn't walk no walk. And the thing is, majority of people these days are all talking. It's just gas, breeze, just slipping out of their face, just blah, and it isn't useful for anybody. Not anybody. It's all noise. There's no action. It's just noise. And the people on the other side who are saying, oh, COVID isn't that bad, and it hasn't been that bad, and you should do this and do that, they're still fear-mongering themselves, because that's all they know. So they'll fear-monger you about the vaccines, they'll fear-monger you about all kinds of things, fear-monger you about what the government are doing. And what the government have been allowed to do with these mandates and stuff, or proposed mandates, depending on where you are in the world, is egregious. It's terrible. Because there's too much noise. You need to cut out all the noise, because it's not doing you any good. It's not doing anyone any good. I'm seeing rampant paranoia, rampant, I know I'm laughing, it ain't that funny, but it's rampant lunacy. It's rampant. Like, you're just hearing people saying things, and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? And then it goes so far along that so many people are saying things that you should go, what the hell are you talking about? That eventually you're just like, are they right? It's like, no. Too much noise. Things like Twitter and Facebook and all online media, the television, news sites, YouTube, not just the mainstream that's on YouTube, but also other creators who rely on the algorithm to spread nothing but doom and gloom, because doom and gloom is the only thing that spreads. Everywhere is full of too much noise, with one or two talking points regurgitated by everyone else, because that's what's popping. If something doesn't work, if something doesn't generate clicks or views, or doesn't get shared around, then they're going to ignore it. Doesn't matter who it is, the majority of people will just ignore it, because this is an ecosystem. The only victims in all this are your brains. Your brains are victims to this. It's gotten so out of control. I'm out here trying to make jokes, and I get fact-checked for jokes. Subjective. There's nothing subjective anymore. Apparently everything's objective. It's bullshit. Nothing about the virus is objective. It's all subjective. All the data is subjective. What it does to you is subjective. It's all subjective. Because it's complicated. But we live in a very simplistic society now that's built on complex things. So everyone just has a simplistic view of everything. Go, well, this does this because of evil. And it's like, no. It's never been like that. Life is light and dark. Yin and, yin yangs, idiots who get yin yangs tattooed on them. Well, there's a reason for that, because it's actually quite deep. Just because someone isn't deep doesn't mean they can't have a deep tattoo. They just don't understand it. You need to cut yourself off from the noise. If there's one thing you need to do for yourself in order to be able to make better decisions, to be able to think clearly before you do or don't do something, it's just to cut the noise. Cut it out. And let life slow down. Let it slow down. Let it slow down so much that you're only being very selective about what you're listening to. Because there's too much negativity, and it's infecting. All that negativity, all those negative charges that have been infesting inside people, that hasn't done anyone any good. Not just mental health, not just your resilience against viruses. It's all right across the board. Everything's interconnected. There's too much noise. We have created an ecosystem online that is just full of noise. Just the loudest, most ridiculous voice competing against the next one. The most simplistic splurge of nonsense coming out of every north and south you've ever seen. Just, listen to me! Listen to none of it. You need to unplug your ass. This is why I'm outside. Once you cut out a lot of this stuff, everything slows down and you can think rationally because you're not bombarded with nonsense. You can just go outside. Just be like, go look at a tree. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't have to just look at a tree. There's plenty of things to do outside. But when you cannot sit still and you've got hypertension because you have to be near your electronic device because you feel disconnected from the world, it's because you're disconnected from reality. You need to reconnect to reality. This is fucking reality. Look at it. Look at it. I've just hurt it. You know what reality is? It stinks. This air's fresh, but I can smell shit, right? It's cold. There's bugs getting in my face. I mean, it's not pretty out here. By no means, this isn't exactly, it's not pretty. It's fucking beautiful. Go out and hug a tree, man. But seriously, you're just consumed with noise, and way too much noise. No one can hear themselves think anymore. Especially in the last couple of years, it's just gotten out of control. Okay, and it's just all too simplistic. I'm pro-vax, I'm anti-vax. How about it's like, do you know what? I've heard too much. This is why I haven't made no decision, because I've heard too much from everything. So I've unplugged myself. And then the universe will tell me whether I should get injected with nanobots approved by Bill Gates. You see, I just like the jokes, but people take this shit too serious. If you actually look into things that have been going on and then look into it more and then dig a little deeper, you'll find out that it's not quite as evil and nefarious or as wonderful and true as it is. It's grey. It's all grey matter. It's just somewhere in the middle, somewhere a little bit to the side, a little bit to the left. There is some relative truth out there. But digging through all the noise is very difficult. That's why you kind of got to take a step back. And then when you step back into the noise, you'll be able to make a bit more sense of it. And then go, I don't like this noise. That's what I did with the television. I ain't watched British TV in years. Stepped away from it for a long time, came back and was like, whoa, don't need this in my life. You might find that with a lot of things if you step away from it. Remove yourself from the situation. Hell, how many times have you heard that? It's a bad situation. What do you do? Remove yourself from it. Don't fight against it or think I'm doing all right in here. You're not. A lot of people are not. A lot of people are not doing okay right across the board. Once you eliminate the noise, everything will slow down and stuff will come to you. And you'll be like, oh, amazing. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. You see, people laugh at the happy-go-lucky people, like, everything's great and fantastic. Because it kind of is. It's not like, you're not edgy because you think everything's fucked. Well, you're a 14-year-old goth. You need to calm the fuck down. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you don't be going, well, everything's great and everything's wonderful. Well, of course it's not, you absolute noob. It can never be. There's no such thing as utopia. It's a fallacy. Step away from the noise. Because if you don't make the decision to like just cut yourself off from this addiction to noise, because it's just noise, and if you don't choose to be your own person, and you think you are this major individual who knows everything because you've regurgitated all the talking points that everyone else is regurgitating to try and score some sort of points upon your friends going, well, you're an idiot because I actually know that blah, 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 blah. Then you're just consumed by egotism and addicted to noise. And you're not the enlightened individual that you think you are. You're nothing. Too much noise from too many gums that are all part of the same head. 1,000 voices screaming from one brain cell. It's not good. And it annoys me. Stop annoying me. You know? This is why I can't talk to people no more. You're all annoying me. It's like I'm the only balanced person on planet Earth. So can everyone else come back to the fold? Your television is lying to you, but the internet's also lying to you too. So just get rid of it. Because there's so much breeze coming out of people, I'm just going to lead by example. So here I am, leading by example. Okay? But don't regurgitate my talking points. If I hear any of you saying blah 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 verbatim what I've said without marinating it first and thinking of your own way to interpret it and having your own point of view in it, don't fucking say it. Don't regurgitate me neither. Alright? I'm not telling you what to do, you're your own person, but don't follow me on this journey of enlightenment. Okay? We can have jokes, but we all can also feed the brain with wonderful nutrients. Anyway, I hope that all makes sense, because it should do. Eliminate the noise. You're consuming too much noise. Until next time, in the words of Corporal Hicks, stay frosty.